Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Who had it on their 2023 bingo card that our good friend Taylor Marshall was running for? I almost said Prime Minister, the Canadian in me, President of the United States of America. It's actually happening. The other day, I saw him talking about being running for president. I thought it was a joke. I texted him. I said, "Are you actually running for president?" He said, "It's true." And then it's been confirmed now. He's put it up on his Twitter. There's an article from LifeSite News and Anthony Abate, being ever the internet troll, making funny remarks above him. But yeah, Taylor Marshall announces run for the President of the United States. And he said in one of his tweets, "Part of my presidential platform would be payday loans and pornography would be illegal." You can read that article from LifeSite News if you'd like. It's interesting, written by my friend Stephen Cox. But this is quite fascinating, and we're going to discuss the significance of this in just a quick second. But first, please just give us a minute here to say thank you to our sponsor, which is the TKR Store. Go to thekennedyreport.com and visit the TKR Store to see our new products, Kennedy's Choice Beard Oil. You can use this on your beard to help with alleviating itchiness, dryness, and irritation of skin. And don't worry, no animals were used in testing this product except for myself. Use Kennedy's Choice Beard Balm for a softer, healthier, manageable beard that is made with natural ingredients. And trust me, I know a thing or two about beards. Visit thekennedyreport.com and check out the TKR Store. The links for this are in the description. Now, Taylor, if you're watching this, I know what you're thinking. You need a running mate, and you're thinking of asking me. But the problem is that I am Canadian, and I don't think I'm allowed to actually do that. I know non-American born citizens or citizens of America who are not born in America. I know they can't be president. I'm actually not sure about vice president, so keep that window open. Anyway, now some people, of course, are criticizing this and they're saying, "Oh, this is silly. This isn't serious." Listen, I just want to give a couple preliminary comments. We all complain about our electoral systems. My prime minister is literally Fidel Castro's son, and he's a complete and utter apostate, moron, demon-infested, wicked man named Justin Trudeau. I wish we could have a Catholic presence in Parliament. It's very difficult to crack into the parliamentary system here, even more so than the presidential system, way more so. People don't really understand the major differences as far as civics are concerned, but it is not the case in the same way you can in America, where basically everyone can just sort of run for prime minister. You do have to have a political party or be part of a political party and then be nominated by that political party. It's much more difficult than the way it's done in the States. I know it's not easy in the States. I'm just saying the one nice thing about the American tradition, if it is going to be a democracy, which we can debate the usefulness of that till the cows come home, and we should, but nonetheless, it is a system you have, and it is much more open to outsiders to get on platforms and things like that. That's very difficult in Canada to do for just the average layperson. Now, is it realistic that Taylor Marshall is going to win the presidency? Well, obviously it's very difficult to win the presidency. But here's the thing. People are always complaining about the president. They're always complaining about their governor. They're always complaining about everything. Everyone's complaining about everything. People go on Twitter and they complain incessantly about this policy or that policy, or, Donald Trump was fine, but he wasn't actually pro-traditional marriage, and blah, 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 blah. That's all true. Criticisms abound, and everyone in politics is open to criticism. But guess what? How could you ever have a different alternative if you don't actually run? How could you have a different alternative if you're just going to sit there complaining on the internet about why the person who's the president or the prime minister or the chancellor, whatever country you're in, is an idiot, if you're not actually going to do anything? Now, I know it is prohibitively expensive in some cases. I understand it. It's, for example, in my case in Canada, again, different conversation about civics. It's extremely difficult without sort of already being immersed deep into the system. That's a whole other story. But nonetheless, people need examples about why they should actually care. People need examples about they need to look to examples of people who are willing to stick their neck out on the line and do something. Will Taylor win the primaries? This is a very difficult thing to expect. And everyone knows this, just like all outsider candidates. But guess what? By simply doing this, Taylor is saying, hey, you can actually try. Rather than just sitting there and complaining, you can actually try. Rather than just expecting somebody else to do it, you can actually do it. Think about it. Without getting too much into the debate about the founding of America and the folklore and liberalism and all these kinds of things, but just for a second, America is a country that the national story, the national narrative is, you can basically be a nobody, you can be a regular person, a business owner, an intellectual, an academic, a plumber, whatever. You can be somebody, and then you can do something in order to serve your community, your state, your country, your county, etc. That is the story of America, and it's a very powerful story. Again, we can debate the civic systems, and we can debate the highest forms of government, and that's a good conversation to have. Nonetheless, that is the American political experiment. And when it does work, it works very well. When it doesn't work very well, but that's the same for all political systems, if we're being honest about it. Taylor Marshall has decided to run for the President of the United States. Again, odds of winning, it's a very difficult thing to expect. Nonetheless, people who want to have Catholic representation in politics must be willing to go into politics, or at least be in a position to support those in politics. So I know there's people out there, I've already seen it, is Taylor just grifting or whatever? Listen, again, if you want the status quo to be different than it is, then at some point, somebody's going to have to put their hand up and say, I'll try. And who knows, maybe things go way better than expected. And he gets, to be heard by lots of people. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, just think about, for example, the power in preaching the gospel, the power in preaching the Catholic faith. I mean, our bishops aren't doing it. When was the last? And I actually, personally, I actually don't like it when priests and bishops get too political, one way or the other. And the reason for that is because politics is in flux all the time. Political principles, that's different. But getting into the actual nitty-gritty of party politics, politics are always in flux. Because they're always in flux, it's very easy to be wrong about predictions, about allegiances, and so forth. I think the risks are too great for bishops and priests to get too deep into the weeds politically. I personally don't think it's a good look, even if it's right-wing. I'm not saying just because of liberal politics. I'm just saying I think it's a dangerous game to play, and the church has always tread lightly in that. So this getting into politics has, for a long time, been the work of the laity. And that makes sense. That makes sense because we're in a position to not have to live in the clerical state, and it's a different type of life. I want to call to mind, for example, the story of Gabriel Garcia Moreno. He was the president of Ecuador in the 1800s, and essentially he was martyred. You could probably say that. He was assassinated. I don't know if you'd call it martyrdom, but something like that, by the Freemasons. He was a very noble, well-to-do person, but he wasn't like a king. There had been a revolution in Ecuador, and the Freemasons had essentially kicked out, the traditional Spanish lineage and the monarchies and things like that. And he was a good, pious Catholic man who said, you know what? Against all odds, I'm going to do my best to do something Catholic for my country. So what did he do? He became president. And for all intents, I think he's blessed, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I think he is blessed. I think it's Blessed Garcia Moreno. But he was a saint, and he was stabbed multiple times coming out of Mass because he went to Mass every day. There are stories about him, escaping, being kidnapped and things like that. And it's Friday, and he's on his way, from his kidnappers, and he's starving, and he's offered chicken and rice, and he won't even eat the chicken because of the Friday abstinence. A man of great piety. By the way, if you're ever in a position where you have been starved for days and somebody does offer you chicken and rice, you are probably dispensed from the Friday abstinence. But nonetheless, it's just an example of his piety. And he's a hero in Ecuadorian history. He was a regular guy. He wasn't a king. And in fact, he actually wanted to reinstitute the Catholic monarchy of the country. None of this is to say that this is the exact same situation. But this is to say that everybody out there is complaining about politics. People are already starting to complain and make jokes at Taylor for actually doing this, which I'm sure he expected. And for what? Because somebody tried to do something that could actually be useful, even to a small degree. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a miracle, and that'd be fun. But at least now, not just a Catholic, a traditional Catholic with a big following, a big social media influence across many platforms. Between Facebook and YouTube, I think Taylor is reaching. Whoopsies. I think he's reaching, maybe 1 million people sometimes. I mean, it's a lot of people. That is not insignificant. That's a big portion of the voting bloc. Maybe best case out of this experiment is the the powers that be recognize that you have to not only take the Catholic vote seriously, but you have to take the traditional Catholic vote seriously. They were talking about potential policies on Twitter. Taylor and some people were kind of going back and forth about it. And they were talking about, hey, wouldn't it be nice if there were tax breaks for big families? Wouldn't it be nice if you had a big family, if you had a lower amount of tax to pay because you're contributing to, I'm, me, my Thomas Sowell libertarian Mises sort of Austrian leanings when it comes to economics. I don't like taxes very much, to put it mildly. Nonetheless, this is a system where you do have taxes. You're not just going to get rid of them. They're not going to do that. So what about creative ways to have tax breaks? I don't know. What about pro-family, pro-Catholic policies? What if the Trumps of the world recognize that, we're not only talking about people who are conservative in the general sense, these people actually want the kingship of Christ in the public square. We're speaking in the hypothetical here. No one's making any predictions. But again, if you are someone who desires to have a better situation politically, and you're not actually going to go do anything about it except for, post memes of frogs on Twitter, which is powerful, by the way. President Trump was in some ways memed into the presidency, so I'm not saying there's no place for memes. I'm just saying congratulations to Taylor for doing so. This is pretty cool. And he is going to face strong pressure for this. It's one thing to put yourself out there on the internet in sort of this, significant but small corner of the internet compared to the sort of massive celebrity culture. Like, think of, Taylor's views are obviously quite high, but it's not like Mr. Beast or one of those 15 million views per episode thing or something like that. So it's one thing to be out there, but it's quite another thing to then throw your hat in the ring and say, I'm actually now running for office. That's going to bring a lot of exposure. So pray for Taylor and his family that they can navigate through this courageous decision. And whatever happens, pray that more Catholics, rather than complaining, will be motivated to actually put their money where their mouth is, put up or shut up, as the expression goes, go or get off the pot. And rather than just being keyboard warriors and complaining about the state of things, they'll actually take risks. And if they think Taylor isn't the right guy for the job, then by all means, do it yourself. And maybe you're the right person. But thank you, Taylor, for sort of blazing a trail here for traditional Catholics to consider activity in politics in such a tumultuous time in human and church history. So bravo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please click the links in the description if you'd like to be on our email list. My new book, the SSPX, The Defense. Thank you to the thousands of people who have purchased it and the reviewers and things. Excuse me. If you want the full truth about the SSPX, and by the way, the importance of the kingship of Christ, that's a very significant portion of my book, explaining Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre's resistance against the implementations of the various errors and things like that after Vatican II. A huge portion of that had to do with the kingship of Christ, which is what I'm sure Taylor Marshall would stand for in his political philosophy. That's an important thing to understand, and to understand the church's role after Vatican II and how the church, under the post-conciliar hierarchy, really contributed to the political mess we have right now. Did you know, for example, excuse me, that the church was asking countries like Spain to remove Catholicism as the state religion from their constitutional documents? Can you imagine? That was actually happening. These are things that motivated Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre. Archbishop Lefebvre had a very strong history in sort of Catholic action, in sort of very conservative, traditional approach to politics, monarchy, etc., so that the rights of, that Christ could reign in society as is his right. And that is what we need right now. In addition, if you are wondering how to grow a significant face sweater, you can check the links for our beard oil products, Beard Balm. We also do have our frankincense and our lanolin balm, which is there while it lasts. It sells pretty fast, so please check those things out. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to Taylor Marshall. Say a prayer for Taylor on your rosary beads tonight. This has been the Kennedy Report. Until next time, God bless. Go to thekennedyreport.com and visit the TKR store to see our new products. Kennedy's Choice Beard Oil. You can use this on your beard to help with alleviating itchiness, dryness, and irritation of skin. And don't worry, no animals were used in testing this product except for myself. Use Kennedy's Choice Beard Balm for a softer, healthier, manageable beard that is made with natural ingredients. And trust me, I know a thing or two about beards. Visit thekennedyreport.com and check out the TKR store